Hey, what's going on, everyone? Bo of the Rock and Metal Disciples here, bringing you another podcast. It's been a little bit just over a month, and just right off the bat, I'm trying to catch up with you all. I would like to say that, yes, I apologize for not getting this out sooner in February. I had COVID for over a week and a half, essentially, and I was battling that. And during that time, that was my second time, by the way, of getting COVID. The first time I got it was May 2022. That time I felt more physically run down. Mentally, I had some stuff I could work on for my other thing. I was feeling more optimistic back then. And I was working on a short documentary film for my documentary series, The Business of Mitigation, which also, funny enough, is related to COVID-19. And you can watch that on the Twilight City Studios YouTube channel. Regrettably, I was more mentally distraught, as well as not feeling great either physically. I felt a little bit better physically, but it felt like a really bad cold or a really bad flu with a little more like congestion in the chest area and the nose and stuff. And even my friend, who's a respiratory therapist, I talked to him on the phone, telling him I was testing for positive, and even he said like he noticed a difference in my voice. Like just a difference in the way I was saying things, how I was talking. So that was kind of interesting how he picked up on a difference in my voice that I may not. I don't think I even noticed it, to be quite honest. But yeah, that was a lot more mentally. I was just a lot more mentally depressed or stressed out from all that. I was a lot more anxious. I was also a lot more frustrated because I'm just like, I'm trying to move on, trying to get over this COVID thing, and to just get it again was like very demoralizing the second time around. So, I've kind of just learned to come to accept the fact that COVID-19 is here to stay in some form or in some way. I did before, but I was really, really hoping to not get it again. And so the fact that I got it again just tells me like, okay, well, this is just the possibilities. This is just the cards, you're dealt with. This is just what you have to maybe come to terms with, I hope to not get it a third time. I really hope not, because it sucks to have this thing. It sucks to be told to just be confined to, quarantine, to do all this stuff. And quite frankly, it really feels like you don't get enough in return for doing all the things that you're told to do, you're pressured to do. And I think it's really frustrating. I think it's really frustrating. The point I'm trying to make is I just find ways to somehow manage it better. If I get COVID again for a third time somehow, if I become infected again and I test positive for COVID, I just need to somehow find ways to just work it out somehow better. Part of the problem was I did not have a system in place. I was not well organized with COVID. This includes Rock and Metal Disciples. I was trying to get to that point. I was working on things. By working, I mean I was planning on doing things to fix that, to get myself back into a mode to feel more productive, to feel more on top of things. And then getting COVID and having that delay me essentially by about a week and a half to 2 weeks at the least. Yeah, no, it just sucks being confined in the house, and at this point, it's at this stage right now with COVID-19 as well, I have a low viewer count on my different channels for my different work as well. So it felt like I had little motivation to even do some of those things from that point of view as well. But again, whatever. I had a lot of things going through my head, and the point I'm trying to make is, that's past me now. I feel like I still am in recovery mode. I recovered better physically. Mentally, on the other hand, was a lot worse, especially when I tried going back to my job that has a long commute, and just the commute alone was like exhausting while you're trying to recover from COVID, because it just is, and then having to be at the office all day, and then just going back home, and then, I had to take a few days off from work, honestly. And I'm grateful I was able to do that, because it's just like, because I was just really run down, and just like, I can't keep doing this to myself right now. I need to find time to just, I'm not ready to go back, full, to doing the regular routine yet. I'm not. I gave it a shot. Worked 5 days. And I'm just like, no, like I'm still not there. I need some more time to just rest and recover. So yeah, I don't. It just hit me hard for some reason. A lot, very much, a lot more so mentally this time around than physically. But even physically, I'm still like run down. I'm still tired. I still feel like I had to recover from it. It was a whole process for me. Makes me jealous of the people who are asymptomatic, and it's like, oh, that's it. You just didn't feel anything. You somehow just don't feel anything, or you feel like almost not little to nothing, or just it feels like almost little to nothing for you. Honestly, I'm like, more power to you, man. I wish I had you. I wish I had it the way you had it. It's just like, that'd have been nice. That would have been nice to have it like that. So for those of you who've gotten COVID and that was your reaction, or that was the way you were feeling, I wish I was you then. And I wish it wasn't like me, where I was feeling like garbage for days and days and days, and just anxious just to get over this stuff, and just so hyper focused on it, and it was a mess, is what I'm trying to say. So there was that, and there was a bunch of other things too. And so yeah, no, I mean, like, I also just trying to like get back into my work routine. I had to I have to take a business trip right now, and I'll get to that in a little bit too, because it's related to rock music as well, and I'll explain how. Yeah, essentially, I'm feeling better now for the most part. So yes, rock and metal music, folks. Rock and metal music. I was listening to 2000s pop punk, pop rock from that era. Was just listening to the classics here and there. Listening to some metal here and there. Amon Amarth, Slipknot, Sabaton. Again, the classic rock, Led Zeppelin, Queen, and a lot of the stuff that they're playing on classic rock radio stations, FM radio stations. I listen to that a lot too when I'm driving. I'm hoping to make plans this year for the Rock and Metal Disciples. I'm hoping to get the ball rolling on some things, and I'll just have to see where that goes. I'm trying to juggle a bunch of things right now. I am also trying to find a new job on top of the job that I already am doing. So there's that. That's eating up a lot of time, and I still struggle to find a job. But at the same time, it is what it is, and that's what I'm trying to do. And it's still a pain in the butt, and it still sucks, but still have to work at it. Still have to work at it. And so doing this though, the Rock and Metal Disciples, and doing my other work, like my film work, helps me though, because it gives me space to like work on other things on the side while I'm also looking for a job. And I'm hoping that, doing the Rock and Metal Disciples and doing my other film work through a Twilight City Studios is a good way of also just like keeping my skills sharp, keeping my experience going, that I can also put on a resume, that I can also show to people, say, hey, like, I do this in my free time. Hey, here's my experience. Yeah, it's not working for someone else, but I'm doing it myself. I'm doing it as an entrepreneur. So, like, I just think it's still good to like do that. The most ideal situation though would actually be, I don't have to actually look for a new job. I can actually just self-fund all these different things that I'm already doing, and I can just do all this stuff full time. That would be like the most ideal. I am working on that though. I am working on things here and there. I got to try and do some research here and there. With that being said, I'm still looking around at all that. Okay, folks, so going back to Jimi Hendrix now in terms of rock music. So this is something I wanted to say earlier. So while I was on the plane, I did come across this documentary on Jimi Hendrix being featured on a talk show host, Dick Cavett show, the Dick Cavett show. And so I watched that documentary while I was on the plane that they have streaming services through, United. And it was a pretty cool documentary to watch for the plane ride. There was a lot of jamming sessions in there with Jimi Hendrix. A lot of cool interviews, footage from the Dick Cavett show, which is a guy who I never really heard of before. He seems to be someone that wasn't as big as like the other talk show hosts of the era, but it was cool to see him and his style and how he seemed more flexible, in terms of just being with his creativity, with his willingness to like try new things. When it came to Jimi Hendrix and it came to Woodstock, the music festival, that was pretty cool to see. Because my guess is for that time era, that would have been like That would have been something like out of the ordinary to like do things like that. Also, in terms of Jimi Hendrix, it was an aspect of Jimi Hendrix I've never really seen before. I don't think I've ever seen Jimi Hendrix interviewed on television before. Never saw any footage of that. Um, so it was pretty cool to come across that. And he also performed live on television too. I'd never seen any footage of Jimi Hendrix performing live on television before. So that was also a very cool thing. It also played out a different perspective on the American national anthem that he performed. Jimi Hendrix performed the American national anthem at one point. I believe it was at Woodstock, according to the documentary. That's what it seemed like, yeah. One of the things about him playing the American national anthem is I've seen multiple comments and perceptions about that. And it seems to be a common perception that he played that anthem in that style, in that fashion, as a way to protest the Vietnam War. And that seems believable to me, given like the context and the situation of the year and of the time period, and the way he was playing the guitar and stuff like that. Like I can see how people would assume or jump to that conclusion. Oh, he's protesting the Vietnam War. But this documentary, though, contradicts that perception. According to the people interviewed in the documentary, it was not an anti-war version of the American national anthem. It was not a protest song. It was not meant to protest the Vietnam War. It was actually just very sporadic. It was actually very just very much in the moment, very much improvised for him to just start playing the American national anthem with his guitar like that. The interviewees actually mentioned that part of the reason why he played the American national anthem was partly inspired by his service in the U.S. military, because Jimi Hendrix was in the U.S. military at one point as a paratrooper. So, and that was something I heard about his military service beforehand, but I was reminded of it again watching his documentary. That was an interesting thing to come across. That was something that I'm like, oh, here's something I learned new. This is something that contradicts that perception I've heard and I've read about for on and off for years about Jimi Hendrix performed the American national anthem as a anti-war way, to protest the Vietnam War. And no, this is saying that the interviewees are saying, no, that's not what happened, or at least that was not the original intention. It was very much improvised. It was just very much out of nowhere. It was very just very much done in the moment, on the spot. They mentioned also like he did it in the morning because when he was in the military, they would like play the national anthem in the morning. That's, I think, what helped inspired him, according to the documentary. So it's a Jimi Hendrix, the Dick Cavett Show documentary. If you get your hands on this, that'd be pretty cool to check it out. I would definitely recommend watching it. I got a chance to see it streamed on the plane. And so yeah, I think that'd be a cool documentary for those of you to watch if you're into classic rock music, if you're into Jimi Hendrix, if you're into any like stuff from that era. I think it would be something just to check out. Pretty cool though. All right, folks, this is Bo with the Rock and Metal Disciples. Keep on rocking out. Keep on sharing the music. Keep on but don't be too heavy on the bashing of other genres of music. Don't be too critical of those things. Just share the music. Just play it and let people listen to it. Encourage them to listen to it. Tell them why you like this music. Tell them ways you can listen to the rock music, to listen to metal music, like at the gym or just in your free time or driving or on your way to work and stuff like that. Find positive and creative ways to get people to listen to the music. We got to keep the music going. Got to keep the rock music going. Got to keep the metal music going. And yeah, so that wraps up this video. And thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.